Hello, everyone. We are live this open mic night for the UK Prepper Network, and tonight I'm joined by world survivalist Alan. How you doing, Alan?
All good. You, Mike?
I'm good. I'm always good. I'm wearing my on point branded shirt just because Brian's not here, and we're joined for the first time by Gazmad Kilt. I'm just going to say Gaz because I can't say that mouthful every time. I spelt it wrong on the credits at one point. So, how you doing, Gaz?
I'm doing all right, mate. I'm doing well.
Excellent, excellent.
In a bit.
No problem. And we're joined by Paul, but he's currently away making a large cup of tea, so he will be back to introduce himself shortly. Loads of people in the chat already, 33 people in there so far. So hello to you all. I see Brian's in there in the chat. He's too scared of my Coca-Cola shirt to come on alive. And we've got Hawkins in there as well, and Miss Worm and Evil Girl, all the moderators to keep you all in check. So, got a plethora of subjects tonight, and we're gonna start on the least controversial of the evening, which is the phone alert. So the upcoming national test on the 7th of September. The government will be carrying out a national test of the UK emergency alert system at 3 p.m. On all of our phones. So, is this just routine, or is there a reason for this? Alan, why do you think that? Oh, Paul's here first. Hi, Paul. Welcome.
Evening.
Is it routine? Well, it's only happened the one time, I think, and it didn't work that well for everybody. I didn't get the alarm the first time round, which I was semi disappointed at, and also happy that maybe I'm not on every list that the government has. But yeah, I mean, they're just trying to refine it a little bit. I don't think the reason they're given for why they're having these phone alerts all of a sudden, which we've never really had in this country, they have them in the United States. I don't think the reason they're given for rolling them out is accurate. I think it's got more to do with what's going on geopolitically than it has anything to do with storms or floods, which, let's face it, can be, semi-destructive in some parts of the UK sometimes of the year, but it's really not sort of on a level that requires phone alerts.
Yeah, it's not something you really need an alert for, because we usually know it's coming a few days before, and it's, the severity is estimated all the way up until the point it hits, right?
Yeah, and I know, I mean, my father-in-law lives in a flood-prone area in Dumfries, and they get text alerts at the moment, they always have, from their local council and stuff, alerting them to, okay, there's a lot of rain, you're in the flood zone, be aware. So those places have always had that anyway. I just hope the government don't start using this as another mechanism for every time there's a little bit of a breeze coming, they start scaring the hell out of everybody or waking me up on the night shift with some stupid alarm. Because the government will abuse this like everything else.
Possibly. Gaz, I used to work at Orange, showing my age there. It was still Orange when I worked there. And you could do push messaging to the entire network for an emergency then. And it's a tried and tested system that is faultless from the network end. So why do you think suddenly they've brought this in? Do you think, like Alan, it's somewhat geopolitical? Gaz?
Yeah, hold on, I've got a time delay here. I don't know why they're bringing this in now. I think it's a load of crap, because there's nowhere for us to really go after it anyway.
Yeah. So there's no point alerting us, because what are we going to do?
Well, I mean, where are we going to go when this alert goes off? I mean, what are you going to do when this alert goes off? If it's for real,
Yeah, I get that. I assume it'll be followed with a message of stay inside. Please don't get in our way. Please sit in your house and wait to die nicely, like a good citizen.
Duck and cover.
Duck and cover, yeah. Hide under nearest desk. Paul, did you get the alert last time they did this test?
I did get the alert, yes, and I nearly died because of it. I was in the car at the time driving, and the alert come over, and I nearly had a head-on crash because of it.
Wow.
So
but nearly was your last emergency alert.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can turn it off in your phone settings and that. I keep mine on because any intel is still intel, right? You've got to read between the lines when it comes through. But because they had that incident in Hawaii. Was it Hawaii?
With
I think it was Hawaii. with the false alert for a nuclear strike coming in or something like that, and they
Yeah,
pretty
I
much
think it
all
was.
thought they had 10 minutes to live. So, in the chat, get involved. If you received the emergency alert last time, hit 1. If you didn't, hit 0. Let's see how many people didn't get it and stuff. That'd be awesome to see.
Sorry, Mike. For this time, I actually switched it off.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if the switch off works as well, because technically with the push messaging, it should override anything on the software doing that. So we shall see.
It'd be interesting to see if a hardware update makes any difference, because I had quite an old phone. I've got a new phone now, same number, and I haven't changed any settings. My phone is always on vibrate only, so I'll see if it works. I might actually do, like, for the first time ever, like a YouTube live with my phone, holding it right at 3 p.m. just to see if it actually happens, or if it doesn't happen. Because, you know, if I don't get the intel, what's the point of it at all? You know?
Yeah. It's Sunday, 3 p.m. We should all just jump on and live at the same time.
See whose phone goes off.
See whose phone goes off. Yeah, we'll just sit there waiting for it to happen, live for the alerts. That'd be a good one. In the chat, we've got Miss Worm 0, Evil Girl 0, Graham, Kate didn't get it either. Nelly 0, but he turned his off. So there we go. Interesting. Do you think it's wise as a prepared person to turn it off, Alan?
No. Like you say, any intel's good intel. There is this notion that if you're getting sent some sort of message by the government that can override all of the settings on your phone apart from the one that purposely switches it off, they somehow have something on you. Well, they have your phone number anyway. I mean,
like I say,
has your...
we've been able to do this since the days of Orange, and I'll you know what, I'm
Yeah.
going to find out when that was.
I mean, Domino's Pizza send me a thing about 50% off literally every week, and I block them every single time, yet they still manage to do it. So the ability to have access to that part of your data is out there anyway, so why not have that little bit of a heads up? If it became, like I suspect, a regular thing where they did it every week, yeah, I would start switching it off then as well. The biggest danger to this I see is the complacency of it. People just become, oh, it's just another alert, and they ignore it. You know?
Yeah. It says 2010 when Orange and T-Mobile merged under the new company name Everything Everywhere. I was part of the team that was thinking about that name, Everything Everywhere, and coming up with it. So it was 2009 that I was there. So that's how long ago they've been able to do this since. So they've been able to do it for a long time. And it's very well tested. It's not like it's a new system that they have to test. So I think it's more conditioning than testing. Is it a good tool, Paul? Do you think it's a good thing to have on? Apart from the obvious possible head-on collision and death, you know, with that aside.
It all depends on whether or not the government is actually going to physically abuse it and keep putting stuff out. Although it's going to be a test, it could actually be something nefarious in the future. Like, as an example, say I'm probably going to go off half-cocked here, so I'm going to try not to swear or do a Brian and get you demonetized. Okay,
it's fine. It's fine. Listen, this stream is monetized, so if you do get adverts, that's your fault for not paying for YouTube Premium. But I have put them on the lowest possible amount, so hopefully not too many adverts.
Nobody
Carry on,
has
Paul.
YouTube Premium.
Nobody.
I have YouTube Premium.
Yeah, but you're rich, Mike. You're rich, Mike.
I don't pay for it. It's somebody else's account, but I have it.
Fair enough.
Carry on.
What I was going on about this early warning system, the government could use it for nefarious reasons to, they could use it on the 13th of September for these demos.
A dispersal alert or something like that, yeah. I think they would get torn to pieces if they tried something like that, politically, I mean. Gaz, sorry, go on, carry on, Paul.
Sorry, I was going to say, but it is open to serious abuse from the government.
Yeah, but I mean, like I say, it's always been there. it's people think it's a new thing. This is not a new thing. It's like 15, 16 years old. I've got one fruit fly that has escaped all my traps and he's just running around in front of me, so I'm not going mental. Gaz, good tool? Do you think it's a good thing to have on as a prepper?
Oh, it probably will be a good tool, like, hopefully, anyway. As long as it can make you alert to something going on, anyway. Everything's good in a sense.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think, Gaz, that we should have, if it is for geopolitical reasons and it is for potential war, do you think there's some merit in reinstating things like old sirens? They're still in place in areas that have like a chemical factory or a power plant, but in general, do you think the old sirens would be a better option?
Well, that would be a good idea, I think, as well, like, because then it could alert the local people,
Yeah.
in the area, sort of thing.
Because, I mean, it is still relying on everyone having a smartphone. And I don't know about anybody else's family and stuff, but my stepfather's of a generation and of a mindset of he'll never have a smartphone. It took my mum a lot of persuading to let him have like a Nokia type button phone. So he won't get the alerts anyway. So a siren would help people like that.
And you could also say to the kids as well, when you hear that, it's like you need to make a game of it, sort of thing. I'm sure it was Alan that says something like that, like you need to make a game of it to make the kids understand it and make it more fun for them. So if they heard that, they would automatically know, right, we need to do this game, sort of thing.
Yeah, but it's like you say, guys, without an infrastructure, from like a geopolitical point of view, if we're talking about incoming nuclear missiles, if there's nowhere for people to go, then that is kind of pointless, really. I mean, you could have something that says just get indoors, which has got a mild preventative measure as opposed to being completely outdoors. But they took away all of the... At one point in the Cold War days, every town had a building, a community centre that was made of solid concrete and rebar, and there was no windows, you know what I mean? And they purposely made that as a kind of run-to shelter. There's actually one in the town that I'm in just now, but it's been decommissioned to a point now where it's now functionally useless for that purpose. It would take a lot of money to bring it back to that level of resistance. Now it's just a concrete building that's used for storage for the council or something.
Lots of councils as well have a building that has an underground shelter area as well from the same sort of area. Most of them are just used as storage basements now. Probably half of them are flooded and not fit for purpose. I'd very much doubt they've changed stuff like the air filters and that. Definitely haven't got the infrastructure to shelter and stuff like that. Alan, do you think the old school sirens would be a good idea for this?
I think they're a good idea in certain places, like you say. I live fairly close to a refinery and they test the siren every Wednesday. So you can hear it sort of going off. But on the other hand, everybody in the local area just ignores that because they know it goes off every Wednesday. So hopefully there's never a problem on a Wednesday because everybody would just assume it was a test. I think if we were at a stage where we were talking about incoming missiles or air raids, then like in Israel, yes, absolutely have a siren in place. You know, then you would absolutely need it because mobile phones are targets for the enemy to infiltrate. So you wouldn't be wanting to rely on that anyway. You know, you would need a physical siren.
Yeah. Paul, any other ways do you think would be better than phone alerts to alert people?
The what do you call them? The flood sirens back, the older air raid sirens.
Yeah, the old school ones, like I say. I mean, that's a community thing as well. If you're part of a neighbourhood watch, you could easily pick up one of them. I can literally go down the road to Charlie to Bygone Times and get one of the old air raid sirens. They're on every other stall.
You know, but back in the day, every church had a bell. And that was the, you know, and you could use it for that purpose. They did that during the Second World War. There's a lot less churches nowadays, and there's probably a lot less working bells. But it wouldn't be hard for individual little towns and villages to put something in place. You know, the old school bell going off.
It was a bit of a juggling match for World War II because they were cutting off railings and stuff like that and gates to melt down to use for ammunition and Spitfires and stuff like that. But the bells, they wouldn't want to do that despite it being quite a big resource of metal because it was a warning system pretty much. So in the chat, Lauren says, I have a dumb phone. It still has 4G light. Will be interesting to see if the alert works. I hope it will. That's it will be interesting. You'll have to let us know on that one. Snapdragon says, my 82-year-old mother has just got a smartphone. I need to warn her about the test. It could really worry her. Or get into the settings and turn it off just for this test, and then mention it to her and then turn it back on afterwards. More sirens have gone, usually stolen because they're valuable. Ones that are left are disconnected. You can get the hand crank ones, they're pretty loud as well. Tests should have a different rhythm to an actual alert. Yes, yeah, definitely. Funnily enough, there's one on the bridge at Waterloo right near the start of the next week's march. There you go.
Interesting.
Yeah, you could be onto something there, Paul.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't actually use it and turn it on to try and disperse everybody.
Yeah. Gin Stitcher, there you go. I truly must live in the back of beyond. We still have hilltop fire towers. That was a great signal thing. Signal, you know. If you wanna
when the
get to
dragon was
Scot-
coming, when the
Yes.
dragon was coming, they would light that up, and then they would send
That's
a guy
it.
up there with a big arrow.
That's it. Where's he gone? He's gone to Gondor. No. It's true. I mean, it's the same in prepping, right? There's something to be said for old school ways. They were done because they were tried, tested, and faultless. With technology, there's always going to be potential for manipulation. Did I get him? I didn't get him. Potential for manipulation and stuff like that. But also the amount of hacking we've got recently. It's very easy to, alert a population for something that's not real by hacking into the telecommunication system. So, food for thought there anyway.
Yeah, or even hack it and give you an all clear when it's actually not an all clear.
Yeah. Or run a test just as you're about to launch something that's real. Don't worry, this is just a test. So's that big flaming cigar tube above your head.
Don't worry, the big cigar tube over your head, it isn't carrying anything. It's just carrying British St. George flags that are going to pop down on parachutes and whatnot and just absolutely obliterate everything.
There you go. That's why they need to ban the St. George's Cross. Clearly, it's highly explosive. No. Right, good segue onto our next topic. Raising the colours. So, Raising the Colours is basically an initiative that was started in the Midlands and is spread across the entire country, and we've seen it all over the place. People putting flags up on lampposts, on roundabouts, everywhere. St. George's Cross and the Union Jack, all over the place. And it's sparking all sorts of debate. So, the first question I want to ask, is there any flags up near you? What's it like around your area, Paul? Paul's got his there.
Paul's raising this right now.
It's supposed to be on. I don't want to know
No,
what Paul's raising right now. Thank you very much.
It's a Union Jack flag.
Yes. What's it like in your area, Paul?
At the minute, there isn't a lot, but there are a few on zebra crossings and on the roundabouts where you've got the red marks across them, like in the flags and
So more the spray paint than the actual flags.
Yeah.
Alan, what's it like near you?
Do you know, the last time we spoke about this, which I don't know, was maybe a week ago or something, I didn't actually see much happening in Scotland. It was mostly down south. I am now starting to see saltires around about my area and a few Union flags as well. So it's happening in the more built up areas here as well, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Gaz, what's it like near you for them?
Oh, I've seen a few on the motorways so far. Like on the motorway bridges, I've seen a couple of the Scotland flags up. I've got a flagpole ordered up for the outside wall so I can hang my flag up. Because the first one I got is massive, like it's too fucking big. Like it's basically fucking bigger than fucking me, basically.
Like my one.
But I'm going to hang it over the fucking door, like.
There we go. Oh, look at that! Showing the pride. He's raising the colours on the stream.
Yes.
So, I assume it's Scotland flags and Union flags where you guys are. So, And I even saw cheeky gits on the way back home from work. My side of the Pennines, somebody's hung a Yorkshire Rose flag on the bridge as you enter Lancashire. So I wasn't. That's the only one I've not been happy about so far. It's a bloody high bridge as well. So yeah, it's interesting, definitely. Is it? Sorry, go on, Paul.
I was going to say about what is it? 2 weeks ago at work, the boss happened to see somebody hanging a whopping great big, about a 5 meter by about 8 meter British Union Jack flag from the top of the building. The little screw or big person actually got onto the roof and nailed the bugger to the top of the roof, chucked it over the side. The boss happened to see it, and he sent me up on the roof to take the damn thing down. I begrudgingly took it down because otherwise he would have actually.
Did he give you a reason?
He was take it down.
Just no reason. Just
no
take
reason.
it down.
Take it down. That's the flag I've got there.
Yeah. So it spurs the question: patriotism or intimidation? Because that's the argument I'm seeing everywhere. Is people doing it for patriotic reasons or people doing it for intimidation reasons? Gaz, what do you think?
I think patriotic reasons, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it not the norm then? Why is it not been happening before this initiative? I mean, you do see flags flying every so often, and you see a mass of them when the World... Well, you don't in Scotland when the World Cup's on, but everywhere else you see when the World Cup's on.
It's because there's a push against all the illegal immigrants and a lot of stuff that's happening at the moment. Eh?
Yeah, so it is kind of directly tied to that in a way. So, Alan, is that a reason for these people to feel intimidated because it is tied to that movement?
I honestly don't know why anybody would feel particularly intimidated about a flag that's literally from the country that person is standing in. You know that.
How old is that flag exactly?
Yeah, I mean we're not talking about a completely made up symbol here, a completely made up flag, which apparently are okay to fly if it's part of some sort of movement like the BLM or GP or the alphabet community or some other a Gaza flag or something else. All of those flags apparently are okay as far as councils and governments are concerned. But the second you put up a Saltire or a St. George's flag or a Union flag, you're somehow on the far right of something when it's literally the flag of the nation that you're in. That makes no sense to me whatsoever.
It makes no sense to me.
It doesn't matter to me if, like, let's say remember the old English Defence League, the old defunct sort of far right movement or whatever, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter to me that they have the St. George's cross as their symbol because it's not their symbol. It's just something they adopted because
they used the flag, but they put their own shield in the middle and the initials and stuff like that. But the same argument could be said for any football club who uses the St. George's Cross, where Sunderland's red and white. So you see the St. George's Cross everywhere, just with Sunderland branch names on it and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the absolute hypocrisy of it that disgusts me from the government and the local authorities. I mean, we're literally in a country where people are flying flags that directly intimidate certain communities, like Palestinian flags and Hamas flags at one point before they were made illegal, which are directly pointed towards Jewish communities. That apparently is okay, but the second you put up a flag of the country you're in, that's somehow bad. That's bizarre. Yeah. That is bizarre.
Oh, it is. It's complete madness. It's complete madness. With that in mind, Paul, should we just have a blanket all flags are allowed? So we talk about the alphabet community, as Alan so aptly put it, and like obviously the Palestine and Israel flags you see all over the place in different things. Should all flags just be fine?
In my own personal opinion, yes. Since they've allowed certain flags up, why not just allow all flags up unless they are actually 100% truly racist or actually have racist stuff on them?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but this is the controversial argument, though, right? Because people are now saying that the St. George's Cross is that.
It's not.
It's not. Yeah, it's clearly not.
It's not.
Gaz, do you guys have the same thing up there before this Raise the Colours thing? Do you get
Not
the
really,
same?
no.
Do you get the same sort of association with people flying the Scotland flag, and people think, "Oh, you must have been somebody that wanted independence" or something like that? Do you have any associations with the Scottish flag for any groups like that?
There's certain places you can, like, I work in Glasgow most of the time, but there's certain places in Glasgow, like certain parts of Glasgow, every second house has got a Union Jack up in it, but that's purely because of football. Like, but there is a wee bit of it. Like, yeah, you do see a lot of Scotland flags.
Yeah,
But, it's more so now. Like,
yeah,
It's a bit like the football thing that there's a political Scottish flag as well, where you'll sometimes see like a yes writing on it, which is to do with the independence thing. And if you're doing it for football reasons, like Gaz was saying, some people fly Union flags based on kind of either football related or sectarian related values. But most people, I've got a Union flag behind me. I don't support any football team, and I don't have any real sectarian views. So to me, it's just the British flag. It's just a Union flag to me. I have a St. George's Cross somewhere as well, actually. So, yeah.
How do you separate the two? How do you know whether somebody's flying a flag due to race, religion, or identity then, or football team, or you know what I mean? How do you define between the two with something like that?
You can't entirely, but there should be rules around. I mean, like Paul was saying, I'm entirely in favour of flags being allowed generally. I think it's okay to have rainbow flags and BLM flags and this kind of stuff, especially if it's on specific days. So you have Pride, there's probably a Pride week every week now, but on a specific Pride week, should the councils put them up all over the place? Yeah, why not? If that's a thing to do and it's not directly political, which unfortunately that flag has also become slightly political, but it's okay to do things like that. But it's not a nation flag, and I don't see how a government or a devolved government, especially like in Scotland, can do something like put a Palestinian flag on its flagpole outside the Scottish Parliament, and then the very next day condemn people for putting up Scottish and Union flags in Scotland.
The Union flag itself is baffled me, because nobody was protesting when it was the Jubilee, the Diamond Jubilee, and they were hanging from every window. Nobody was protesting then. Nobody was protesting when it was England getting to the semi-finals and stuff like that. Nobody was protesting then for the St. George's Cross. So, I mean, it all baffles me in that way. But, I mean, I tend to agree with you, Alan, that anyone should fly any flag. I agree with you, Paul, that has its limitations. If it's got something directly on it, like, unless it says Pepsi sucks ass, other than that, you can't allow it. But yeah, anything extreme like that, you should definitely oust that. But I agree with you, Alan, to a degree. So I kind of like the American philosophy. The Stars and Stripes is always flying, but they'll have state flags that are additional. Or if there's an event on like Pride, it'll be an additional flag, maybe lower down on the same pole or on a separate pole. I don't think ever on royal government, anything like that, military, any buildings like that, national buildings, the Union flag should ever be taken down to be replaced with something.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. The Union flag is the flag of the United Kingdom, which whether you agree with being part of the United Kingdom or not, that's literally the flag of the state of this country. The UK is slightly unique in a way because it's obviously it's a country made up of 4 other countries, and you can be 100% Welsh and just say for me the only flag is the Welsh flag. That's fine, but your government's building should have the Union flag and then a Welsh flag, because that's how that is. That's what its purpose is, to represent the entire nation state. Putting up Palestinian flags or Pride flags or BLM flags makes a very specific political statement. That's there to make a statement. And the second the government starts doing that, especially without the consent of the people, that's a completely different thing. And to my mind, that's unacceptable.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I agree with you there completely. So, I mean, in general, the raising of the colours will go around the table and in the chat. If it's a good thing, hit 1. If it's a bad thing, hit 0. Paul, is it a good thing?
Yes.
Yeah. Gaz?
Yes.
Yeah. Alan, do you think it's a good thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the UK is not a particularly flag wavy type country, and I think we should take some pride in that. But I think we need more of this now because our culture has been taken advantage of. Because in the absence of us flying the flags of our nations or of the whole nation, other people have filled the vacuum with these other bizarre flags that represent whatever the left wing narrative is at the time.
Yeah.
That's purely all it is. And it'll be something else tomorrow. You know, it'll be some other cause that's got no sense whatsoever or anything to do with our particular culture or our nation state. Yet those will be okay. At the same time, the council will be pulling down English flags and Scottish flags.
Yeah. With what Alan said there in mind, Paul, is this just a phase? Next month, will we see all these flags taken down again? Or could this be the start of something that's actually... I mean, I've got pride in my country all the time, and I'd love to see it like the States, where you've got see the flag flying on every household sort of thing. Is it just a phase, though, do you think?
I would say it's 50-50 at the minute. That all depend on what happened at the after the 13th when and if it all kicks off even more, in which case then that will give more patriots the how to put it, the kick up the butt to actually go get themselves a flag and like fly a flag.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe in them packs that we give, the blue packs that they give people who come into the country, it should have a little flag in there. That'd be a good one, wouldn't it?
If it becomes more common, the more people will do it. I mean, one of the main reasons why I've never really seen a flagpole outside a house in my street is because nobody had one. I've seen a few recently, and once one neighbour has it, another neighbour says, "Oh, well, if he can do it, I'll do it." And before you know it, if you're the only house that hasn't got a flagpole, you're the one standing out. And that happens in America. They actually have, you know, if you haven't got an American flag flying outside your front door, then there's something wrong with you. And that would probably become the scenario here. I can't see it taking off in the UK, to be honest. I think it's a fairly short-lived thing that's happening.
So you think it's more of a phase, like we said?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a guy with a flagpole opposite me, but he's flying a Man United flag. But, you know, we can't judge them too harshly. So Paul took us on the segue yet again. He's good at moving things along, is Paul. On to September the 13th. Okay, so this is a slightly controversial one yet again. Sorry, in the chat, we have all got all ones. Nobody's put a 0. Somebody put a 2. I'm not sure. He might be bipolar or something. Restrictions on flagpoles here is that in this town must be telescopic 20 feet and under. Yeah, I mean, for me, even the ones that hang at the front of your door that go out like that, I love to see that as well. So yeah. And
saying
South Down
that,
Prep has got the pirate flag.
saying that, I have actually got a great big Union Jack English flag in my bedroom window. I've had it in there for probably about 8 to 10 years.
Yeah. The only flag I hang from a window is a Sunderland flag, and that depends on the football results that week, so whether it's out or not.
You mean if they got trashed in the Football League or not?
Well, we're up near the top half at the moment, so, you know, that's what it is. Anyway, September the 13th is the gathering, family event, mass protest, rebellion, whatever you want to call it. Well, that's the question, I suppose. Alan, what is it?
Well, I suppose it's hard to say. I mean, what is it? It depends on what your particular stands on, not only the topic is, but also your stands on those kind of protests. So I can only really speak for me. Personally, I stay away from any kind of protest. They're not my thing at all. Even if I passionately believed in the thing, I probably wouldn't be protesting anyway, because the second you go to a gathering like that, everything about you is being recorded. Your analytics from your phone data has been recorded. The hotspot zones, your facial recognition data has been taken. The authorities are scooping all that stuff up. Plus, you're opening yourself up to police violence, civil unrest, and other things like that. So it would be good to pay attention to your local area and identify places where you think protests are going to take place. And if there's a big one happening right outside your front door, then prepare for that. So that's the time to start preparing, because things like petrol stations might be blocked, roads might be shut off, shops might shut, etc. So prepare based on, if it's happening right outside your front door. Otherwise, I mean, if you're planning on joining a protest like that, the problem with those kind of protests is no matter how family friendly they are, the opposition, the far left, more predominantly, will absolutely infiltrate it and try and cause violence, in my opinion. So there will be some civil unrest in these protests, no matter how well-meaning they are, or what side you take. There'll definitely be some sort of violence at them.
Yeah. Paul, Tommy Robinson's took to all of his social media and saw a lot of his followers saying this is a peaceful family event, bring your kids, stuff like that. I mean, the fact they're telling people to bring their children would say that they don't expect violence. What do you think?
I think the writing is on the wall with regards to the lefties and the people who are against it. Antifa and all of that lot, all the other groups, they are going to be going there just to create so much trouble to get their point across, and to get as many family people or patriots or citizen journalists arrested and carted away for prison, and all for social media posts and etc.
Which in itself, the fear that people have from seeing these stupid arrests, like that's still going on now. There's a woman that's just been arrested near the Bell Hotel and stuff like that. That seeing these arrests happen, it's going to make people mask up, which instantly says, oh, they're up to no good if they're masked up and stuff like that. So It's a difficult one. It really is. Gaz, what do you think of this thing? Do you think it'll be a peaceful demonstration, nice family day out, or do you think could be a match head for starting something bigger?
Oh, I think what's planned down in London, it's meant to be a good family surroundings and all that, but what they've done so far has been good and been relatively quiet, but some of the other protests have turned violence, but you tend to find it's the lefties that start it, like you say, the agitators that start it. But me personally, I'll be going through to Glasgow. I've been through to Glasgow a couple of times, so I'll be going through to Glasgow. But when I go to their places, I always know my exits and where I'm in, like always really read the scenarios and sort of the surroundings and about you, sort of thing. Eh?
Yeah, definitely be a step ahead.
I've got to say as well, Mike, I don't know about you guys as well, but I mean, I'm all for people having the right to protest and do what they want, but taking your kids to a protest, what's that all about? It doesn't matter how family friendly it is. Other people see protests as targets. Why would you endanger your own children by taking them to mass rallies like that? I've never understood that, to be honest.
No, I tend to agree with you there. I mean,
brainwashing your kids as well at a young age, so they don't need to be like, they should have an option to choose what they want. Not
you don't know the politics of your kids. You know what I mean? Yeah. So why drag them along to some political event? It's a political event. It's not a it's not a gala day. It's a political thing. So children don't belong at things like that.
Yeah. Paul?
Plus, I think some of it has to do with what are the kids actually being indoctrinated with in school with regards to all this lefty and how can I put it?
Agenda.
Woke stuff.
Yeah. It's the woke mind virus. Just say it. That's exactly what it is. It's disgusting neo-Marxist woke mind virus is what that is.
I spend more time unteaching my kids stuff than I do teaching them these days.
Thankfully, thankfully, there's not a lot of it in my kid's school at the moment, from what I can see. But he's still very young, so I'm on the watch for that.
I didn't think they would talk about a lot of things like that in primary schools, but I had a 7-year-old upset one night about a couple of months ago, and I said, "What's wrong?" And I was trying to get it out of him because he doesn't talk when he cries; he just sits there crying, sort of thing. And he eventually came out with that he's worried about World War III at 7. And I'm like, "What are they telling you in school?" So, I mean, that's when I literally opened up about the prepping to him and showed him everything. He said, "Don't worry, Dad's got you covered. You'll be fine." And he was happy with that. But yeah, I do genuinely spend time teaching them stuff that's wrong, because they'll come out of school and they'll say, "Dad, today, this, that, and the other, and we're doing this for this, and this for this, and not for this." And I'm like, "Well, actually, son." So you do spend a lot of time doing that, which is unfortunate. So we've established it is got honest intentions of a family event, but as preppers, even if you are going to attend, it's probably not the safest place. Just remember you have movement through crowds, close to a wall and stuff like that if you have to be. Easy to get out. Make sure you check for alleyways and exits and stuff like that if you are going ahead doing something like that. Just stick a 13 in the chat if you intend on attending one of these, just out of curiosity. You might not want to, I know, but if you want to, just stick a 13 in the chat if you're attending. Should the left side of things be cracked down on because they're publicly saying that they're going to go and march against Tommy Robinson and all of this? Literally, they've publicly announced this. I did a video the other day, if anybody saw it. I showed 3 different sites and a mum's forum that were basically saying this is happening, and running coaches from places like Manchester, Birmingham, stuff like that, to London for these left-wing protesters to go and challenge it. Should they not be cracked down on in the same sort of way, Paul, like with the police?
I understand the police have actually got to a fine line. They have to go. They have to weigh up the risks against it, etc. I'm sure Alan knows this from his time in the forces. You have to weigh up certain things, rules of engagement, all of that, and whatnot. But with regards to should they crack down on them, they should. Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, if it was a left wing, I feel like if it was a left wing process, and an alleged right wing website turned around and said, "Right, we're organising everyone to go down there to go against them, and we're going to put coaches on," that would get jumped on. I really do feel like that. Alan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all in favour of counter protests. Counter protests are an important part of democracy, but they have to be managed, like Paul was saying correctly, like you're alluding to as well, Mike. They have to be given the proportionate amount of airtime in the media as well, because we see the complete difference of how things are reported. It's simply calling yourself a group, like simply saying the anti-racist group doesn't mean you're anti-racist if everything you preach is racist. So giving yourself some nonsense name isn't a vehicle into being able to say and do whatever you like. And that's part of the problem with a lot of these, mostly on the left side groups. There are far right groups in the UK. There's just not very many of them. I mean, there's far more far left groups from what I can see than there are far right groups. And I think they each have a right to be able to counter protest and protest each other, as long as they're separated and things like that. But I genuinely also believe that the police are more heavy-handed on what they perceive to be the right side than the left side. We've seen that countless times. There's countless examples of that. It really is a 2-tier justice system when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Gaz, if you're getting involved with this as well, does that kind of thing worry you, that there's going to be people there that to purposely antagonise it?
Well, there's always going to be people that antagonise it, but it's just how you react to it. That's the thing. You need to try and keep yourself reacting and not reacting. If people run about you, try and calm them down or try and talk them out it, sort of thing. So you need to think of yourself and everybody else there. I mean, when I go there, I take a wee first aid sort of thing, just in case I come across anybody that is maybe like minor injuries and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
you always think on that edge, like, because everywhere you go, there's always dangers. Like, so it's just how you react to your situations and all the time. Like, keep
Yeah,
yourself safe.
there's baiters going on as well. There's deliberate
Yeah.
people who deliberately try to bait people purely so they can get that on film. That's 100% a tactic that goes on, and people fall for it all the time.
You see that on both sides of the spectrum, I think.
Yeah,
Left and
definitely.
right,
That's a both side thing. But people need to be aware of the fact they're just being baited, and they need to not, fall into that trap.
Yeah. I'm trying to understand. I don't know if anybody can play devil's advocate here, because I refuse to on this subject. But I don't understand what the left are protesting, what they are counter-protesting. Does anyone know?
Everything.
No, but in this case, what are they saying is a bad thing that they're counter-protesting?
Well, I'll put my head above the parapet and come out and say, it's get the gun out ready, Mike, to blast my head off, so to speak. It's as an example, like a lot of these wealthy individuals, they think they're when I say wealthy individuals, I mean the ones who are billion or trillionaires, who have just got so much money. They change their causes for as an example, like Just Stop Oil. They've just gone because all their funding's dried up, and now we got an offshoot of a different one.
How much funding do you need for a high-vis vest and to sit in front of traffic?
That's a good question. You have to think a lot of these are indoctrinated at universities and colleges and whatnot, because a lot of the teachers were indoctrinated about this, and now they're passing their views or teaching their views to all the fresh meat, so to speak, to get them to do absolutely ridiculous, silly things.
Yeah, that's where it started, and that started 30 years ago. That's a whole topic in itself, by the way, because I follow the rise of the woke left and Marxist left quite a bit, and that's where it originated from. And there is definitely there's a stated. I know what they will say they're protesting, but I know what they're actually protesting. And the weird thing is, a lot of them themselves don't even really know. So it's the same reason why Greta Thunberg has suddenly went from eco warrior to Palestine warrior. How did that happen? What has that got? What's the connection there? It's not entirely money. It's to do with the Marxist oppressor-oppressed narrative. Wokeism is just Marxism, and there has to be an oppressor and an oppressed. And once you see the list of all the people that are the oppressed, which is basically everybody who's not Western or white, then you realize what the mechanism is from jumping from one topic to the next.
Yeah. Ben has joined us. How you doing, Ben?
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
Hi, Ben.
All right, mate.
Better late than never, Ben. Better late than never.
To be fair, I just woke up, so
There we go.
yes, I took Hawkins' advice. I saw the Discord message of "Don't you sleep," so I was like, okay, I may as well go get a kip.
All right. Okay. So I lost track there for a second. So what are they protesting then, Alan? In your eyes, you say you know what they think they're protesting and stuff like that. What is it they're protesting on this scenario? Is it Tommy Robinson?
Well, that's just another one of the hooks. So they'll always use the same narrative. It'll always be, we're protesting oppression of some description. So Tommy Robinson has been linked with sort of far right racist type stuff. So they'll say we're protesting fascism, racism, every other kind of ism you can possibly imagine. they'll say that's what they're doing, and they'll even give themselves names that sound like that: anti-fascism, anti-racism, anti. How can a normal person be anti-fascist, not support something that's anti-fascist or anti-racist? You can't.
Yeah.
That's the cleverness about those kind of names. But
Yeah.
the reality is, the people that are sitting waving the flag of whatever political cause it is that day, also have a bunch of other flags for, a dozen other things that they're supporting, and they don't really know why. And the reason is because the oppressor oppressed woke agenda is old Marxism. That's exactly what it is. It started with the education system many years ago, 30 years ago, in fact, across the United States, the United Kingdom, and some places in Europe, and it's spread because once you start with the universities, the people who graduate universities become lawyers, they become politicians, they become media influencers, etc. And that's why the vast majority of people who have that do these protests are basically white, wealthy, semi-liberal sort of people.
Yeah.
It's not very often that it's anybody from these particular areas that are protesting. If you ask somebody why they're protesting the war in Gaza, they'll say, because it's genocide and innocent people are dying. Okay, so were you at a protest about Yemen yesterday? No, of course not. Can you point out on the map? No. Why not? Why are you not protesting the war in Ukraine? Why are they not interested equally? Because it doesn't fit the oppressor-oppressed narrative. The people in Ukraine are white, therefore they're oppressors. They're not oppressed. The people in Gaza are not white. They're brown and Middle Eastern, and Israelis are white, therefore they must be the oppressors, etc. And it kind of follows that narrative all the time. That's why you end up with these bizarre contrasts where you have somebody saying, I'm in favor of BLM, and I'm also in favor of gay rights and every pronoun you can think of, but I'm also in favor of Hamas, who would literally throw you off a roof for the same beliefs.
Yeah. I mentioned this in a video before. You'd be killed.
Yeah.
And you can't even say this to these people. They're not even... I tried to get a logical argument out of one. I was poking the bear on social media, as you do. Poke the lefties. It's a great game. And I was trying to get a logical argument out of it, and all I got were catchphrases back.
It is illogical. It's like the feminist argument. How can you possibly be a feminist supporting women's rights, but at the same time support women in countries where you're made to dress in a bag? It makes no sense, but because they see them as, well, that's just their culture. No, it's not. That's an oppression that's been put on them by crazy religious hierarchies. But you're taking the side of that because you see that as an oppressed, and we must somehow be the oppressors. It always links back to we're the oppressors, they're the oppressed. No matter what the subject is, they have to follow these very particular narratives, and they run themselves in circles with this bizarreness. And that's why it's so easy. That's why it's so contradictory. But I mean, it's a subject in itself because it's so strange.
But everyone I know with half a brain cell sees that and sees the illogical side of it. How have they got so much support? Is it purely is part of it down to trending and feeling superior in the moment, do you think?
It's pure fear. It's a minority with the loudest voice, but they've got to the point where, I mean, we a couple of years ago, you could literally, there was a famous case of somebody who sent out a tweet, some sort of joke, and she got on a plane, and because she was like a CEO or something, by the time the plane landed in another country 6 hours later, she'd been cancelled and she'd lost her job and she was facing prison time for a joke. That's the kind of level of absolute hysteria of the wokeism that took over. Thankfully, I believe the pendulum's starting to swing the other way. And what we're seeing with things like Raise the Colours is an example of the pendulum swinging the other way. That's people finally saying, you know what, to hell we use. I'm not just going to stand by and watch mass immigration take place in my country and hotels get filled up and people get, rapists, rape gangs and stuff be exonerated or ignored because we were too scared to point them out in case somebody accused us of being racist. People in Britain have just had enough of this kind of stuff. And if the only thing we can do is express ourselves by putting flags on lampposts or paint roundabouts, then so be it. But I will say that's probably the beginning of how people express themselves. And if the authorities don't take note of that, it'll just continue to get worse and worse and worse until eventually something bigger happens. I don't know what that will be. I don't think it'll ever be like a civil war like we've discussed before, Mike, but it'll definitely, people are losing tolerance for the intolerance we're receiving. You know, we're a very tolerant country, the UK, but there's only so much we can take. And it's getting bizarre now with, you know, left-wing politics and extremism and all sorts of stuff. We can't just keep ignoring that.
Yeah, yeah. Ben, I'm keen to bring you in because you've missed out on two of the previous really entertaining topics. We're talking about the events of September the 13th, the London protests. I suppose I'll ask you in general because we've had a few different questions. What's your thoughts on that? What's the intentions behind it? And will it be some sort of tipping point?
Just so make sure I'm on topic. Tony Robinson's what's happening on September 13th, right?
Tommy Robinson, yeah.
Okay, just make sure I'm in the loop.
And the left side of things on mass websites are organising coaches to go down there to counter it.
Yeah, I heard a bit about it. I don't follow politics. I know it sounds daft. I don't follow that type of the politics because most I saw was Tommy Robinson was in a subway and some guy was on the floor. I saw bits about that, but I managed to catch, excuse me, I managed to catch the, the short he put up about you can bring your kids, you can bring everyone you want. It's a family orientated type of gathering. But the thing is it?
Yeah.
I
mean, I think it has the intentions of being, but like the guys have said on the panel, it's just like, would you put your family in that risk? When know there's counters going for it and stuff like that. So
I did say to Mrs. RP, I'm not taking us down there. I mean, don't get me wrong, it would have been a nice day out for us as a family, but it could start off really family friendly. It really could. But look what's happened. I mean, I know I compare America's politics to our politics in a sense, but in a sense, what we're seeing with Tommy Robinson very similar to the Make America Great Again, but instead it's like Make Britain British Again or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's my take on it. I won't be able to say much on the Tony Robinson's scenario because I don't follow it too much. But from what I have seen, I wouldn't take my kids down there because I'm too afraid it'll turn a little bit spicy.
Yeah. Paul.
Yeah.
What do you think the chances are? I mean, obviously the police will be between sets of protesters, as we've seen in the past. But also when the Southport incident happened and we saw stuff all over the country, they didn't have the manpower for that. With the numbers we're talking, if something kicks off, do you think there's any stopping it?
That all depends, but I do actually know that the Met Police have put in requests for officers from every single other area in the UK, Scotland, and Ireland. Anyone's who are spare to go down there to help with the crowd control and everything else. What was the other half of the question?
Well, just if is there any? Do you think they will be able to stop anything if it does kick off because of the numbers we're talking about?
It all depends on if the numbers are in the single digit of millions, or as in the over. Let's say 500,000 people turn up, or whether or not if it's down to 3, 6, 7 figures, 1 million plus. You really think the police are going to be able to stop anything if anything kicks off?
Yeah, I mean that's the question, I suppose. Gaz, do you think? I mean, you said you're going to Glasgow, so is this happening? Obviously, the left are talking about busing people from cities like Glasgow, Manchester, Birmingham down to London. But do you think there's going to be replications of what's happening on the 13th over all these different cities?
Well, I think it might be like, but with Glasgow and all that, they're used to the football violence and all that, so they've usually got horses and all that sort of thing. But I dare say they'll have backup plans and line because they must be expecting some sort of amount of people to go there, so they must have some sort of backup plan. I was thinking maybe it's like call on like security stewards or something like that. I don't know, something along those lines. Like,
yeah. Alan, do you see the police being able to control this and it all going smoothly for the day?
I don't know if it'll go entirely smoothly. The UK police, though, especially the Met in London, are very, very good at controlling mass crowds. It's not something that's new. There's been over 3,000 protests in the UK this year alone. So and we've seen protests in London that have exceeded 1 million people before during Iraq and conflict and things like that. So the police are incredibly good at being able to kettle people and control people and divide people up and all that kind of stuff. And it's the same in Glasgow, like Gaz was saying. Like we the kind of protests that we generally see in Scotland are football related, sometimes a little bit sectarian related. We sometimes see some mild violence at like the referendum type things and things like that, but not many. So a lot smaller population here. There's only 300,000 people in Glasgow, roughly. But yeah, I mean, there'll definitely be arrests. There will be some people who take advantage of it. Anytime there's a big crowd, you'll always get opportunists trying to take advantage of that, whether they be just thieves or baiters or and also people bolt on their own political cause to these things. So it's incredibly easy for me to see, like in Scotland, for example, I know the people who are going to be counter-protesting in Scotland, I already know what political parties and stuff they're a part of. They're going to be part of like the Socialist Party, the Green Party, the SNP. These are left-leaning parties, so they're going to be the counter-protests. So the same sort of people that you see waving flags over bridges on the motorway in Scotland about some cause in Gaza or Scottish independence or something, they're the same sort of people that are going to be there waving anti-racist flags, even though that's got nothing to do with them or their cause at all. But like I say before, they're jumping on the woke agenda, and that's what these movements all have in common. But like I say again, the pendulum's slightly swinging the other way, because for the most part, we've only ever seen protests on the far left, like the BLM riots and things like that. Now we're starting to see the opposite happening. We're starting to see the pushback. They are smaller in minority, but they are obviously getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah. So to end this subject, open question. Anybody that wants to jump in, feel free. Could this be a tipping point, whether it turns violent or not? Because someone mentioned before, 1 million people marched against the war. It still happened. It made no difference. So often, no matter how big these peaceful protests are, they're never going to get the results they want. So even if it doesn't turn violence, people are going to walk away and think, well, we need to do more. We need to take a step further. Could this be a tipping point, you think, that spurs that civil unrest / revolution / civil war, whatever you want to call it? Anyone?
I think it will. I think it could get to a point where we see something similar to history, like Guy Fawkes.
Yeah.
There is that possibility. I mean, there is that old saying when you sign up to do security, if all verbal reasonings have failed, the only thing you're left with then is to go into contact.
This is true. True.
And I mean, I agree with Alan and Gaz and Paul. The policing system down in London is shit hot. They are on their toes, and we've seen that with the Epping Hotel protests. When that starts to get a bit spicy, even though they're in riot gear and they got their shields, they can push the crowds back. They still got good crowd control.
Yeah,
so,
they can control situations. Look at the tractors and the farmers going through there and stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly. And it's like anything in this day and age. Anything can go from zero to 100 in the click of your fingers. All it takes is one person to say the wrong thing to the wrong guy or girl, and that's it. So it can spark into civil unrest during the actual events of September 13th. But at the same token, it is like a game of chance. This could go one of two ways, either civil or violent, but both are going to lead to the same point. It's like a kettle. It's been flicked on now. It's time to run the boil and see which way it's going to go.
Anybody else? Sorry, go on, carry on.
I think it's going to make people stand up and look to see what's going on. But I think, definitely people are going to stand up and see what's going on and hopefully realise they need to stand together.
How does the government combat that? They're not the most popular government at the moment, anyway. Change my mind in the chat. Feel free, but good luck. But how do they change that? Could we, as preppers, when we're getting ready for stuff like this, and this could be one of those points in history that is, a point that then moves us in a different direction, multiverse kind of thing.
Could Starmer not get ousted in a sense, sort of thing?
Potentially. But I mean, is it the type of person to go or cling to power and stuff like that? That's the question. Could we see lockdowns and curfews and things like that to prevent ongoing civil unrest?
I think that would push civil war. I think that would make the flipping crowd, even the people, even worse. Like,
I agree with Gaz on this because at the end of the day, the government's already broken the trust of the public. The government's already been caught out with, like, Angela Rayner. Look what's been said very recent. That I'll touch on very briefly. But look what was just mentioned recent with Angela Rayner. Okay. The public knew that. We knew. Because it was on the news. Mortgage, I think it was. So the trust there is gone. The last PMQs we saw, what's her name? I can never remember her name. Rachel, I think it's Rachel Reeves, was sat there crying.
Oh,
and they put that
was a while ago.
Issue. Fair enough. We can't say no different. We ain't got that proof. We're not hurt. But you're a professional in your job in a PMQs, and you look like a blubbering mess. Why did you show up? Why was that shown? Everyone could see that clearly she was under some kind of duress. That's why she was upset. So why allow it to be shown on television without having questions raised? So people are going to... Sorry, guys, what?
She wants a sympathy vote, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's all to do with guilt trips and sympathy votes.
He's going to get no sympathy when this next budget comes out, I assure you.
Oh, yeah, no chance. But
not to mention...
Sorry, Paul.
I was going to say, not to mention the TV and the ratings and the mudslinging that is actually going to happen when it all happens.
It'll definitely embolden people to. I don't think it's going to lead to civil unrest and civil wars and things like that, but it'll definitely embolden people to. But it'll embolden people to pay attention to fringe parties like Nigel Farage's party and other parties as well, based on whatever your political stance is for that, whether it be Jeremy Corbyn on the left or Farage on the right and things like that. And by the way, as well, Miss Worm, 100% people should look more into Guy Fawkes' history. He was no friend of us. He
was a Catholic.
Yeah, he was trying to kill the monarchy, destroy the monarchy, and replace it with Catholicism. But that's a different story altogether. People forget that, and they seem to think he was some sort of British patriot. It's the complete opposite.
Yeah, it's the dead opposite.
They just hear blow up Parliament and think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I just said 3 words that's put us all on a watch list. Sorry, guys.
That's fine. Big Brother's always watching. Look at the digital ID cards.
Don't even start about that.
Tell me about it.
That's a whole entire different can of worms for another stream.
Yes, probably. Definitely. Yeah, we've still got another subject to touch on after this one. I'm going to go through a couple of the comments here that I starred from before, just so I'm not leaving out the chat. Graham says there's a government website on flags and it's very encouraging. I will check it out, Graham. Thank you very much. Nelly said, question, I can't see the St. George's Cross emoji. What of others? Oh, what, do you mean on your device or the ones that are custom to me? If they're the ones that are custom to me, I'll put one on there soon, but it'd be interesting if they took it off phones and stuff. That would be a step too far. Everyone's going to check the phone now to see if they've got the St. George's Cross emoji. Does anyone know why the trigger pullers of Police Scotland are being moved around by British Army Chinooks in recent training exercises here in Scotland to get them moved into the Scottish Highlands?
Do you know, I'm glad Anthea actually brought that up because a Chinook was carrying a lot of supplies over us earlier on today.
Did you see the one from my cycle that buzzed over me?
Did you enjoy your haircut?
I felt, honestly, I was like this. There's footage you don't see of me going like this on my phone because I tried to turn the camera on and it was facing me instead of the Chinook. So I was like, oh no! Because it was so close. It was, honestly, it was lower. So where the M6 is, the M6 road's raised up here. There's a valley to the right of it just before T-Bay. And it's only a low valley. That's where the A road is, down there. The Chinook's blades were lower than the motorway. So from the motorway, you wouldn't have seen it. That's how low it was in that valley. So, but I don't know why that's happening. No, does anyone have any insights into that, what Amphi has mentioned?
It'd be interesting to know, though.
Is
Maybe.
Alan looking it up?
I was quickly trying to look it up there because I haven't heard that story and I've not heard anything about that. The only thing I can quickly see on the old chat GPT is something about NHS personnel being moved around by British Army recently into more remote areas because the Highlands are prone to things like landslides and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I mean there aren't a lot of Chinook helicopters in the British Armed Forces as far as I think. There's only about 11 or something, but I may be wrong there. But and they only take about 10 people or something, so it's not like there's a mass movement going on.
Yeah, there's probably a lot more than that. They're just not airworthy, knowing our military. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably in a museum somewhere.
Camping Kings, we are in very uncertain times, and in the back of our minds, we suspect a false flag event is looming around the corner. I sure hope the 13th of September is not not time if families are attending. That's a scary thought, right?
That is, 'cause that took me back to the podcast,
Of what?
the War Games podcast,
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
false flag.
Yeah,
Yes.
mass protests are prime targets. Generally, this is what I was saying about taking your kids to these things anyway. So, I mean, if you're an Islamist terrorist, for example, looking to ram people with a car, those are the exact kind of places you would do it. Or some other mad political ideology. It doesn't matter what it is, but huge gatherings like that are definitely the place to
And
do
the
things
government,
like that.
the government are prepping more for things like that. So in Blackpool, we were there not so long ago. Not the biggest fan of the place. Just ends up costing me money. But on every side street and all the front between the road and the pedestrian area, they've put solid ram protection stuff all the way down the stretch of Blackpool. Honestly, so because they've got the light switch on, so they're expecting stuff like that. So they are preparing for stuff like this already.
Yeah,
So
I
the
noticed.
threats must be
I
there.
noticed in Edinburgh they have furniture, which is actually, if you look closely at it, it's designed purely for what you're saying, Mike. It's anti-car ramming stuff. So they've got like these. They look like chairs and they look like flower bed planters, but they're actually made of metal and concrete. Like they're properly solid. They're disguised as furniture, but they're actually anti-ramming things.
I like that. At least they've disguised it.
Yeah,
The granite balls in Edinburgh as well. Like.
yeah, the balls, the big round ball things. Yeah.
The great big concrete square planters that weigh in excess of a ton. You try moving one of them with a car or a van, you ain't going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's scary thoughts, but there's always ways and means for these people to cause havoc if that's what they want to do. Well, let's hope it's not for that event. It's all smoke and mirrors, and they are projecting to stand against all the things that they are supporting. There are a lot of paid protest agitators. That's an interesting theory. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Supposedly they're getting paid what I believe it was banned again said supposedly they're getting £40 a day to attend these things.
Oh, not worth it. Add a zero. I'll come and protest anything you want for 400 quid a day.
Or is it 40 quid an hour?
If it's
I don't
40
know.
quid an hour, I'll do it.
Yeah. This is the hard times in the UK. This is the cost of living crisis. We're all willing to go against every moral we have if the money's right.
Fuck that.
Terrible.
The question.
New England flag for over years. Is that for the emojis he's talking about there? Sorry, Paul, did you say something?
I was going to say, with regards to the Chinooks and whatnot, you think it's anything to do with the recent government contracts that have been outsourced and published by the Home Office for the mass fatality resilience capability stuff?
Yeah.
When they get mass casualties and whatnot.
Yeah, because France turned around and stated, didn't they, that they want all their hospitals and nurses and doctors ready for sort of around March 2026.
So something's definitely coming.
To be fair, Paul, that I can kind of engage a bit more on than Tommy Robinson because of what was going on in the last sort of 36-ish hours. Me and Alan were speaking about it the other day. There is a lot that's going on with the governments at the minute that is lining up a bit more with, they know already something, and that's why the mass casualties, mass casualties lot 3 and all came out recently and was fully approved. Since then, there's been an absolute sheer increase in aviation from all around. So maybe that's what it is.
It's interesting because the mass casualty things, like people have said, oh, well, it's contingencies, it's preparing, and they've always had plans like this. Yes, they've always had plans like this, the government, but we saw what the plans came to physical when they needed PPE. You know, a plan is usually in a filing cabinet in a government office somewhere. The fact they're making the purchase at a time when we can't afford to heat up Granny tells me more than I think a lot of people realise. Band Again said armoured cars have been seen entering London this week.
Yes.
And he also says £80 to £100 an hour for the agitators.
An hour?
Or is that a day?
If it's an hour, I'm going. I will agitate
Which
whatever
one is
you
it,
want.
Band Again?
I'll slightly correct myself about the Chinook thing as well. Apparently, the UK has between 60 and 51, and they can hold as many as 51 personnel. I didn't know that, but
Does it tell you how many are airworthy? Because we also have multiple nuclear subs, but only one of them is probably seaworthy at any one time.
it doesn't say that. But they are due to reduce by 10, according to ChatGPT.
Yeah, we've got 50 helicopters and 3 helicopter pilots. There we go.
Yeah.
Where?
How do they know war's coming unless they're going to start it? Exactly.
Yeah, it's a fair point, and the rhetoric's starting to stop on the British side, which actually, has anyone else noticed that? Since, like, Ukraine got hit hard over the last couple of days, more so than they have done, have you noticed there's hardly any rhetoric now from the British side like there used to be?
What do you mean, in support of Ukraine?
Yeah. So instead of us saying what we normally do, which is, don't worry, we've got your back, we've always got your back, we're actually turning around more so now saying, right, come here, over there to Zelensky, and we're basically saying to Russia, come on, bro. I've noticed, I know I'm saying it in a weird way like that, but that's what I've literally noticed in the last sort of 2 or 3 days. The whole tone of the British government on the war between Russia, Ukraine, NATO, and whatever way you want to, view it, is they're no longer using rhetoric. They're more eyes down, pen on the ear, and they're being more focused rather than.
The narrative isn't. I mean, it's running the end of its course. I mean, if you paid purely attention to what mainstream media was saying, you'd think the Ukrainians were winning. They haven't ever been winning. They've been holding the Russians back far better than anybody expected. But that's only because they've been getting fed the very best of technology and intelligence. They couldn't possibly have done that on their own. And it's running the end of its course now, and the end game is in sight, I think, for Ukraine, and it's not going to be a victory.
No.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, and that probably kind of pushes us on to our final talking point this evening, which is, did we all see the Chinese military parade?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was lovely, wasn't it? I mean, if you compare that to the Americans' effort at a parade, which was a couple of people rambling past the president, it was rather impressive, and lots of tech on display, whether they are cut out of form and painted, or they're actual real. We don't know, but
Whether or not the tech work.
well, I think it does. To be fair, with potentially, and obviously, who's in attendance is more key, being Xi Jinping, Putin, and North Korea, Kim Jong-un. Yeah.
Man.
Is this the new axis of evil?
Yes. Because they were caught on. No,
Straight in.
I'm sorry. They were caught on hot mic. So if anyone goes to Google just to get back me
I've
up,
seen this. This is funny.
yes,
I
it is
haven't.
damn funny. So did you
Immortality.
know? Exactly. They know the key to immortality.
What?
What is it?
Organ harvesting.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly what I thought when I read it.
Right. Sorry, this sounds like a
Is it-
crackpot conspiracy thing.
is it
Tell me,
cool that
please,
people
please
talk about
give me details here.
So-
Ben.
1 second, I'll pull up the article.
Yeah, Putin was shooting the breeze with Xi Jinping about how 70 is now practically a child because people are going to live to their 150. And the way that you can do this is by effectively changing out your organs just willy-nilly, and that kind of expands your lifespan. And he was hot mic'd talking about that.
How the fuck is that going to work with your muscles and
Just
your body breaking down? I mean, you're going to
Doesn't-
every
it
single
doesn't.
part in your fucking body, really.
It's not a case of just changing your organs, which is very strange, which is
It
always
feels like-
confuses.
It feels like the Hollywood trend where they were older Hollywood stars were giving blood transfusions off younger, fitness
Yeah.
people to think they're going to live longer through it. That's what it feels like to me here. Go on, Ben.
right. It's off multiple sources, so I'll just read 2 sources that.
If you want to share it, I'll put it on screen.
Oh yeah. BBC's got it, and so does Associated Press.
BBC. There
Yeah.
we go.
Does anybody have the audio file?
I don't think we'd understand it. Do you know Russian or Chinese, Paul?
No, but I'm sure Chat GPT will.
I think they were speaking English, actually.
If they were speaking English, that's got to be staged. "71, still a child." Human organs can be repeatedly transplanted so that you can get younger and younger in spite of your age.
本世纪呢，可能
Do you know what that tells me when I hear something like that? And I've often thought this about some of the stuff that Trump says as well. You imagine that these people are getting fed the absolute best intelligence humans could possibly get. The Russians are kind of plugged into everything. The American president's got all this fantastic information, so they're right up there with the latest knowledge. I think it's the very opposite. I think they're just being told what the hell they want to believe. So you've got some Russian bloke who, Putin's afraid of dying because he's in his 70s and he wants to live forever. And you've got some bloke who's his minion well, yeah, actually, we're pretty close to, living till 150. We just need, the blood of a 10-year-old or whatever. And he's just eating it up because who's going to say, no, well, sorry, mate, chances are you'll be
Does
dead
look
in
good
10
for
years.
his age, though.
He does look good for his age, but let's face it, he's going to drop dead by the time he's 80 because most people do. But who wants to be the guy in the room telling Putin that? No, you're going to be, oh, no, we're working on something. Don't worry about it. 5 years from now, we'll have you live until you're 150. We'll just get some, blood of a virgin and, some eye of newt, and we'll put it together and you'll live forever.
I'm gonna follow this with a keen interest, and for no reason whatsoever, the new entrance policy into the UK Prepper Network. I need to know your blood type. Just so-
I'm
Don't even know what fucking blood type.
I want to live forever. No, it's
That's,
With regards to the organ harvesting, Iron Sky, anybody? You know
Yeah.
what happened in the movie?
Yeah.
I've not seen it.
Iron Sky, it is a B, if you want to class that, kind of a B-ish, triple-ish movie. It's in the in-betweens, but it is a fantastic movie.
Okay, I'll have a look for that one.
But yeah, Paul, no, I get what you mean with that. Yeah, it's very, very reminiscent of it.
I mean, is this just two blokes at the pub chatting crap, or is this an agenda that they're actually discussing? Because this is three people who are in charge of total loyal armies, you know, with nuclear power. Does this not scare the shit out of everybody else?
It does out of me. I'll openly admit it. You know, it takes a grown man to cry, as the saying goes. This scares the living shits out of us, because shortly before they were here speaking about this immortality, or the key to immortality, Donald Trump put out Truth Social posts basically stating, please enjoy your military day parade. But yeah, we know that you're conspiring against the United States of America.
No, that was such a passive-aggressive tweet from these people are in charge of our nations. There's something seriously wrong.
Yeah, you've got the four people that we can look at the most, which is Trump, Putin, Xi Jinping, and President Xi, right?
When Starmer looks like the sane one amongst the world leaders, we know we're in trouble.
Oh, then you better think we're in trouble then, because look, compare the two. Even though Starmer's screwing the UK, at least he still doesn't going, hey, we got nuclear buttons, let's play with them.
It could just be a troll. You know, the Russians and the Chinese know when things are hot mic'd or not. They were literally in control of the media filming that very thing. You know, that wasn't the BBC that filmed that. That was the Chinese media. So they put out what they wanted us to see. You know,
but Associated Press was there as well. Then they put it up.
Well, yeah, maybe.
That's
but
the one little piece that's made me think, oh, hang on a minute. It may not be so much like, you know, a hot mic moment, more of a make sure you've put this in so people know that we know things that can progress us, say, 20, 30 years into the future, right? Because what they're talking about is revolutionary. I'm not saying I condone it or nothing, but if what they say is true, that means life expectancies are just going to go up and up and up because of new things coming in. But
it's not going to go up in North Korea. He can't afford to give each person a friggin' potato, never mind a new lung or a new heart. The only one with life expectancy in North Korea is the Kim family. That's it.
But no, it's the bit that's scary was before they said it all and Putin was sat in a chair, he'd done the good old-fashioned hand sign of get out. So he still shows that he still sticks to his old KGB ways.
I'll tell you who was the most important person at that parade. And it wasn't necessarily Putin. It definitely wasn't Kim Jong-un. It was Modi from the Indian side. India has been getting wooed by the United States for nearly 30 years because it's a massive population. They're a rising power. They'll be a major influence in the world. They already are a major influence in the world. And for nearly 30 years, the US and Europe have been trying to get the Indians on our side. And you've seen it when they were doing the visit to the White House. They were cozying up. Trump was kind of claiming that he was his pal and all this kind of stuff. And then he went and put those 50% tariffs on India like a complete buffoon. But now what we've seen is a clear-cut demonstration in public that the Indians are very much on the side of BRICS. They're 100% behind that whole concept, and they're very much on the side of the Russians, the Chinese, and all the other smaller powers that are in and around that area, like North Korea and stuff. The Chinese are the true power of the world. They're the true rising power of the world, and they're slowly but surely taking the place of the United States. We're seeing a great change in the world of power and influence in the world. The Russians, as far as the Chinese are concerned, are just useful. The Russians aren't as powerful as people think. Their economy is smaller than Spain, but they have a vast nuclear arsenal and they've got huge oil supplies and a large area landmass, and they're right in Europe. That's why they're powerful. Take away the nuclear weapons, Russia's basically a gas station in Europe. But from a Chinese point of view, they can do things that they can't do. The Russians, for example, will say things that the Chinese will never say. The Russians will criticize the United States directly to their face and threaten Europe directly. The Chinese never do that because they're playing the long game, because they're a smarter country. The Chinese are very much in control, and they know that when they have influence over India, when India joins this pack, you're talking about half the world's population. You know, the United States and Europe still make up less people than those countries combined. They could just trade with themselves and still be richer and more powerful than us, and they know that.
Yeah, where does North Korea fit in with that? Because I see him at that party. I see like Putin and Xi being like mates, and him at the side going, "Can I play? Can I play? Can I play?" So I feel like he would be the one used to create either a false flag event or just to we need to start something, so you're going to distract and you're going to start by striking South Korea, or you know what I mean? I think that. Do you think he'll be a do as you told dog's body for them?
Oh yeah, he's definitely just a puppet of mostly Russia, less so Chinese, but some Chinese, but mostly the Russian. I mean, the thing with the Korean Peninsula in particular is North Korea is a handy tool for the Russians and the Chinese to have influence over, because South Korea is effectively a US base. So is Japan. Then the only other countries in that part of the world that are semi on our side, if you want to look at it that way, are Vietnam, funnily enough, Indonesia, these kind of countries. And slowly but surely they're starting to move over to the east as well, especially when you take a look at Indonesia, which has got an enormous population, absolutely huge. I can't remember what the population is, but it must be 4th or 5th in the world or something like that. But 20% of the media in Indonesia is Chinese now. And that's something that's happened over the past 10 years because of the influence there. Russia also has a massive influence in Africa, which is important to the Chinese, and they have a direct route from the north of China that goes up into the northern channel into the Arctic. That's why they're particularly interested in staying friends with the Russians. The Russians are just going along for the ride because, well, what else can they do? They haven't got any other way out of this. But yeah, India's prime minister, to my mind, or president, whatever he is, was the main person at that event. And the Chinese, if all of that stuff is actually genuinely working, I don't think most of it will be. I think a lot of it's prototypes, because there was something to be said. If you look at the military equipment in that parade, most of it was only a couple of years old. So 2024, 2025 kit. They didn't showcase anything older than 2022, which is the last military parade. They were showing 2019 stuff. So that in itself is also a bit of a signal.
Mm-hmm. Paul?
Yeah, but have any of you guys got any idea what the cost of the parade was in China?
No, go on.
No.
Because I actually want to know.
I actually happen to know, because I frequent a lot of Chinese places, shall we say. And I'll leave it at that. I'm not a communist or anything like that, before anybody mention it. But it was
okay.
Over,
Paul the Red.
Yeah, but it
with
was
with his red hat on.
Yeah, it was over 1 billion yen.
What's that, like a fiver?
Yeah, what's that in real money?
What's that? It's 1 yen is 10p.
Right.
Right, come on, quick math. Who's going to do it?
It's 100 million.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
just for that. Not to mention they've.
It was a huge. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, not to mention they locked Beijing down for 3 days before. You were getting the police taking people, arresting people, strip searching people, absolutely doing anything, shutting shops down, welding the drain covers in and whatnot, armed police out, tanks, the army, the military, absolutely everything was out to make sure the protesters and everything did not spoil it.
Well, it was impressive. I watched the whole parade. It was impressive, and there's something to be said about a force. See all that goose stepping and marching in perfect formation. That's something that is drastically underestimated by some countries, especially the United States. There's a reason the UK still take that stuff seriously, and a few European countries like France, is
Discipline.
because that instills a level of discipline that goes beyond just looking fancy. It's very, very important to how soldiers react to certain types of orders and how you can organize them in certain ways and how you can get them to do things. The Americans have zero interest in that kind of stuff, and that'll be
Their
one day that'll be
parade, they were
zero.
just wandering.
It was
their
embarrassing. Their parade was embarrassing.
It was an absolute farce.
Yeah, so I mean, on the parade, we saw 4th gen tanks. We saw Chinese heavy torpedo system, nuclear capable drone torpedoes, or drone submarines as well, unmanned submarines.
Modelled on the Poseidon. Very, very impressive, those things.
Yeah. The DF-61, which is their land-based intercontinental ballistic missile, which is allegedly the most advanced ICBM in the world. 15,000 kilometer range, can carry up to 14 warheads, according to some reports.
That's
And the-
hypothetical.
Yeah.
Of course, it's hypothetical, you know, but I don't want to ever see the theory tested, like. But and the one that interests me, robot wolves.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Robot wolves.
Me and Alan.
So,
Sorry to interrupt you, Mike. Me and Alan spoke about them. What
Yeah,
was
we
it?
were
Alan?
talking about
Yes, day before yesterday.
Yeah.
We literally went full gamer moment and was saying, like, what we're seeing now is what we've seen in video games as gamers in like Call of Duty, Black Ops 2 and things like that, and Infinite Warfare. Those were things speculated years ago in just a fictional video game, and now, like you just said,
yeah, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter had it, and
exactly.
that was an old game on the 360. What interests me with these is, I mean, we've all known them previously as robot dogs. We've seen the Boston Dynamics ones and stuff like that, and they've always had problems because they can't carry enough power, they can't carry enough weight to be practical. Now, so they're officially called Quadrupedal Unmanned Ground Vehicles, or QUGVs, if anybody's interested. And they claim that they would accompany troops in packs, and they've named them wolves instead of dogs due to new strike capabilities, no longer just recon, actually being able to attack and stuff like that. This is one thing I said months ago, that people don't realise. I mean, when people buy something cheap off Temu that the Chinese have made, and they're like, oh, it's not that great, but it works, and it costs you like £4, and it's technology, right? They have the production level to mass produce stuff like this when it comes to drone warfare and stuff like that. If they've nailed the design and the tech, you could see thousands of these things on the field. That probably worries me more than an ICBM. So, I mean, you talked about it the other day, Alan. What do you think of them?
Yeah, I mean, I've been following the robot dog thing just out of your curiosity for a while. I mean, it was telling that they were on the back of a truck and not running alongside the truck, which if they could actually properly operate, that's what you would have them doing. You wouldn't have them on a truck. I think that's more of a showcase of robotics than a practical, something that's genuinely practical. At
That
the
would
moment.
have been impressive. 2 pounds.
It would have been amazing.
Running down.
Yeah, they're just running alongside. But I don't think we're far off that. And there's something to be said as well, like you're saying, Mike, about the stuff that the Chinese are coming up with. It used to be the argument a long time ago that the Chinese are just copying. Okay, they're just stealing technology and then they're backwards engineering. They did that for a long time.
In the software industry, which I've been in for a long time, that was the constant.
Yeah.
You know?
And they still do that. But that's only an attempt to put them down as if what they're doing is taking some sort of second-hand version of what we already have. The Chinese are incredibly intelligent. They are the world leaders in drone technology by far. Not just in the commercial side, but the military side as well. From what I can see, and I'm no expert in it, but the Chinese drones are far superior to anything the Americans have. Far superior. When it comes to the naval technology, they are now undoubtedly a blue water navy. That was always the case that they weren't for a long time, but they absolutely are now. We see that because of their activities in the South China Sea and round about Indonesia. They would not be able to do that if that stuff was just based off old blueprints from old Ford class, battleship, aircraft carriers, and things like that. The Chinese are ridiculously intelligent. They have the money, they have the long-term view to be able to implement this stuff for years in advance. They have the universities in China are so well organized and so well run that they can afford to put the very best students through there. And remember, it's a communist system, so they don't have huge student debts and things like that. They just see it as part of the, part of the state to do this kind of stuff. So I think we fear them at our peril. You only have to, if America's the most advanced country in the world, and it probably still is very loosely at the moment, you only have to take a look at their motor industry to realise that they can't build a bloody car to save themselves. And that's why Trump's trying to tariff European cars, because American cars suck, right? The Chinese EVs are better. They're getting better than the Tesla stuff. And that's the same across a lot of different technologies.
They are, and I drive one, so I can't. Part of the problem, guys, part of the problem. I'll get you in a minute, Paul. I was looking for a date on something, but I remember distinctly a while ago the UK selling stuff to the China to develop their navy. And I thought it was a stealth boat plan originally. AI has corrected me. Said there are no reports or evidence suggest the UK has sold stealth boat designs to China. However, the UK has approved the sale of components for combat naval vessels and military radars to China. It's good to know, right?
Mm.
We're helping. Paul?
With regards to the robot dogs thing, DARPA actually had a working prototype in the United States in 2012.
What's that?
The robot military dog.
Yeah,
DARPA was actually working on it, and they had a prototype in 2012.
Boston Robotics have had one for ages, and Honda in Japan they've developed stuff like that, and there's literally loads of companies developed it. I don't have a doubt that they've got the same ability to make the same tech. I just don't think anyone's going to be able to do it on a scale that China can. You know what I mean? You no matter how much you make America great again, they're never going to be able to manufacture as much as the nation of China is in stuff like that.
But did you actually know the robot dogs are actually currently in Ukraine working for the Ukrainians?
What's that?
Robot dogs
for the
are
Ukrainians?
are actually in Ukraine.
But only, I assume, for recon purposes, because they can't carry any
recon,
weight.
Surveillance, and potentially to
clear explosives.
Yeah.
That's the whole that technology has been. Most nations have got that now. I think the development that China are doing is that these are beyond recon now. That you've got a pack of robot dogs hunting you down. I watched a film the other day which was some sci-fi that was similar. I can't remember what it was. It might have been a series, but there was something like that on there. Liam Max said, I heard somewhere that there's no such thing as a hot mic. It is all intentional. I mean, like you say, it's filmed by the Chinese. They wouldn't put anything out that wasn't intentional, right?
Mm.
Schools in China, kids at 5 can strip and rebuild Glocks. We play Lego and they build Glocks and fitness. There we go.
Built differently.
I take it you saw the video on YouTube Weeks today where they actually done that in a Chinese school.
Mm-hmm.
Did they? I haven't seen that. No.
Yeah. No, they definitely built differently compared to Lego.
China is slowly mapping out the UK with its DJI drones.
Yeah.
There it is. So
that
Brian's
was pretty much a given.
Brian's part of the problem as well.
They want Brian's DJI, and the Chinese want Brian's prep and all of his power banks back.
Oh yeah, my car's going to start running over random politicians on its own, I'm sure. How do you take down a robot dog? Anybody heard of Ebolas?
Yeah, boulders like that around your ankles, the thing you throw around your ankles, I think.
Oh, the so like the sling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. No,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I mean-
you don't really need to. They can't handle terrain. They can't open doors. They're not as advanced as people would like to think they are. They're great for certain aspects, like Paul just mentioned, of recon and clearing trips and small explosives and stuff. But it's a long way off Ed 209 coming gunning us down.
Have you
So-
seen
Throwing
the
net over it.
Have you seen the Robot Olympics? There's actually a Robot Olympics it takes place in China, funnily enough, where the best robotics companies, play sports and football, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's actually just a showcase for robotic technology. That's what that is. It's a competition for that. But watching that, you can kind of see that the tech isn't quite there yet. Those dogs fall over a lot, all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
You could
they've
probably
got
just throw them a spanner like a bone,
Or introduce a robot cat into the mix.
No, because then it won't do as it's frigging told.
The Robot Wars.
Another point in robot cats, they won't do as they're told. They'll take over. You don't own cats. Cats own you. Dogs are haram. Is that the same with robot dogs? Wow. What we see on TV of the Chinese is all propaganda.
It's not all propaganda. Some of it's propaganda, but I tell you what, there is one thing that should be said about the Chinese, right? Because I've got some interest in the Chinese country. I actually like China. It's a very, very interesting place and interesting culture as well. But they have their own problems. They have their own domestic problems. It's not as united as people think it is. China's a very large country and it's broken up into different ethnic groups, and they're in direct conflict with each other all of the time as well. They also have a lot of starving people, and the poverty in China is vast as well. There's vast poverty in China. It's not what we see on TV isn't entirely what it's shaped up to be. It's a bit like the old Soviet Union, car drives you type thing, when in reality it doesn't drive bugger all. It is a little bit still like that, but that's the same with the West. And I've drove through America, and I've seen some poor parts of America. That's apparently the land of dreams for a lot of people. So everywhere has that kind of problem.
Of course. I mean, the larger your landmass, the more likely there's going to be areas like that completely remote and isolated, right?
Yeah.
Nets will capture the robots, says Nelly on the land.
Back to China.
Off we go.
The living, or should I say, the living factory wage in China is 8 pence an hour.
Yeah, well, when it's a communist nation, the alternate option for not working is not sat there claiming every benefit under the sun like some people do in other countries.
Benefits you get next to nothing in China.
You're next to nothing. You get shot. You get organ harvested now. Right. Look, right. Final question on this then. This axis of evil. With who we've got there combined, right? You can poo-poo what you see coming out of China and poo-poo what you think the technology is, and you can say Russia's can't even take Ukraine, whatever. The three of them combined. Is that now the biggest world power at the stage if you combine all three of them faultlessly?
Oh yeah, definitely. If you combine, I'm still throwing Modi in there as number 3. North Korea is not a major power in the world. They're just a satellite country. Okay, so India, China, and Russia, the three of them together are incredibly powerful. The three of them together are more influential in the United States and Europe, probably combined, at this point in time.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, just seen your message. You got to jump off. You jump off, mate. Lovely to have you on.
See you
Take care,
guys.
Al.
Take it easy, guys.
Cheers. Take care, all.
Sorry, Alan, you were saying?
Yeah, I think the three of those countries combined, if you just take a look at their overall wealth, their technological ability, their influence in the world, and what they're currently doing, they are by far the superpowers of the world now. That's not to say Europe and the United States combined aren't a major force. We are, of course, these countries. China's still a very long way from Europe and a very long way from the United States, which is why the Chinese are interested in being allies with Russia and stuff like that. And what's going on Africa also plays a large part in there as well. But the BRICS nations, if there's five major nations in the BRICS nations, and if you look at them from a combined point of view, they really do make up more than half the world's population from an IMF point of view as well, just through GDP, expenditure, and world population. So that stuff can't be taken, just ignored.
And it's great that like Trump kind of pushed the initiative to force NATO to spend more on their militaries and stuff like that. But that's not something that's going to happen overnight. So they're going to be this world power for a while.
Yeah, I mean that's an inevitable consequence. What I think we're seeing from the United States is the inward nationalism that they're doing and the pulling back from the rest of the world. That's how all empires eventually fall. They always fold in on themselves that way. For a long time, though, I mean, Trump has effectively put these people together. This is mostly Trump's doing. If it wasn't for his aggressive behavior and tariffs and the way he's treating Europe, this wouldn't have happened. He's effectively handed China the keys to the world when it comes to this kind of stuff, because for a very long time, America was the dominant power of the world to the point where the whole of Europe, for its first time in history, said, you know what, we're not going to invest in our military or defense. We're going to invest it in education and free healthcare and benefits, you know, because the Americans have given us a security guarantee that's solid and is, you know, inflammable, and the Russians can never do anything to us. Now Trump has finally said, actually, you know what, we're not going to guarantee you nothing. Go and spend your own, you know, stop leeching off us and spend your own 5% of GDP. But the second he did that, the European nation says, oh shit, we're actually more on our own than we thought, and so we better do something about it. And then the BRICS nations realized, wait a minute, are we going to allow one country in the world to bully us? You know, why should Brazil and why did India get 50% tariffs? They didn't do anything. They didn't deserve that. The tariffs is going to be recorded, in my opinion, as one of the greatest geopolitical mistakes in world history. And that right there is the thing that changed the world, not for the benefit of the United States, but absolutely for the benefit of the BRICS nations, especially China. China's the raising power, and even in our lifetime, we're going to see that come to fruition. It didn't take very long for the British Empire to suddenly spin on its heels, and then the reins of power be handed over to the United States after the Second World War. And that was because of a 5-year war period. Imagine what will happen 10, 15 years from now.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, for me as well, is it's the unpredictability of what they will do to try and stop this as well. Because you're talking about the United States denuclearized Iran overnight with targeted strikes. Preemptive strikes, do you think that's going to be on the cards? I mean, how much can the saber rattle each other before someone decides, hang on, this is not going my way? More so America, if they see that the sanctions aren't working and the BRICS is coming together and becoming more and more powerful, will they try and cut the head off that snake?
Not with China. They literally can't. It's an impossibility. There really are some countries in the world that the Americans don't have an influence over. China and Russia, to some extent, are those countries, especially China. I'd never seen the hype with Iran. I've seen stupid things on the left media saying that it'll cause World War III if Trump ever strikes Iran. There's gangs in Glasgow more powerful than Iran. I don't know where people are getting this stuff from. You know what I mean? They literally produce nothing, do nothing, and have a very localized military. So bombing a few...
Send the Billy Boys into Iran.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where that was coming from. That really was paper tiger stuff. China, totally different story. Unless we're all being deceived and all of that stuff really was made out of fiberglass. I don't know. But can you imagine Britain try to put on a military parade? How big would it be? It looked fancy as hell, but would we have all that kind of machinery and stuff? No, I don't think so. And we've seen the Americans attempt at it.
Yeah. Is it something we need to do? Is it not better to keep your cards closer to your chest if you've not got it? Well, I mean, if we put a parade on now, the third, you know, you'd have 4 sections of armoured followed by 2 sections of the AA and the RAC to pick up the parts of the armoured that's falling off as it's going along.
Yeah. I have always wondered, see when you see like that giant Chinese parade, that's not a one-off. I mean, they do that I don't know if they do it every year, but I remember watching the 2019 one. If you wanted to strike China, do it right then. You know what I mean? One tactical nuke right there on that spot would have wiped out those leaders and half the Chinese military in a one.
Well, yeah. This is another one of those multiverse split points. Maybe that's
Yeah.
happened in one universe.
If I can, very quick, I got a few things I look at most nights to keep up with what's going on in the world. And Alan, you know when you said about China and North Korea and Modi more than sorry, not North Korea, Putin, sorry, and Modi rather than North Korea.
Yeah.
Remember the quote they came out with? The dragon and the elephant dance together.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah. I've never seen that one, but makes sense. India's a major power in the world, and it's going to get a lot more powerful soon.
Yeah. I don't know why. Is that me?
Theoretically, it could even rival that of China, depending on which way the economic winds blow.
Yeah. 1 sec. It's not doing all my screen. Hang on. 1 sec. Why are you doing that?
Alan wants to surrender, says Band again.
Right.
I don't think we'd have a choice in the matter at this stage.
I'm already learning Chinese. I like the food anyway, so
I know a little bit of Russian, if that'll help.
It's like that Austin Powers there, where he wakes up from the cold freeze. He's like, comrade. And he's like, no, we won the Cold War.
So
Brilliant.
I will say where the source comes from, just so none of us get in the shit. So obviously you guys know I follow what the Enforcer and all. So he always gives out a link every single night and says, if you guys need to like follow along or want your own resources for news, this is the map. So this is what what I've been following. If I can make this a bit bigger, so there we go. So considering we're talking about Raise the Colors and China and that,
No.
this is all the news we got coming from this so far. 1 second. So we got Putin has stated that Russia will supply China with more than 100 billion cubic meters of gas per year.
Yeah, this is all expected. They're just going to boost each other's economy.
Yeah.
They don't want any reliance on the West.
No. And obviously the dragon and the elephant. This was obviously what we covered earlier on, saying about the live mic situation, if it loads. There you go.
Whoever said we don't have a choice need to F off. We have a choice. Yeah, but what I'm saying is we don't have the military to back up that choice. If it came to a full-on attack on the UK, we've got one deterrent, and if that deterrent doesn't work, we have nothing to back it up with. We have no air defense against missiles whatsoever that is based on the land. I wasn't saying that from a patriotic standpoint. I was saying it from a practical standpoint, Paul.
You see, the Chinese aren't stupid enough to do something like invade the UK, right? And they're not suicidal. So the mutually assured destruction thing still works with the Chinese. Even Britain, with its 240 nuclear warheads, could pretty much render China a waste ground if it did the same thing to us, and then nobody wins. The Chinese aren't going to send their naval fleet all the way to the UK to try and invade us, because that wouldn't work. We would easily intercept that, the same way that they would intercept us if we tried to do the same thing. The distances are protection. What they will do, though, over the long term, is play the long-term economic game where they cut off all trade supplies, they control all of the routes into, they control all the trade supplies, they control the waterways, they control the airspace, they control the space. They basically do what the Americans have done since the Second World War, but they do it on a much grander scale and probably with more resources, because they've got much bigger population. And to my opinion, as a society, they're probably a little bit more intelligent. They just have more means to do this. You could look at it from a history point of view, though. I mean, is it so bad? Who knows? But the Chinese aren't actually that much. They're not really a warring nation. If you look at them, over history, they don't tend to invade their neighbors very often. Although China itself was a much smaller, like I said earlier, it's several nations that have clumped together, but they're not overly aggressive. The Second World War, they were the ones being persecuted. They were the ones being invaded. It's the Americans, on the other hand, or even the British, you could argue, we're very aggressive. We're a lot more colonial than the Chinese have ever been. That doesn't mean that they haven't got a taste for it, and maybe they are starting to do that. We're starting to see some influence in Africa that looks very colonial to me.
Potentially. I fully agree with you, Paul, and I've already said on a video that I would sign up tomorrow, especially if it's to protect the country. But at the end of the day, if every man in this country signed up to protect the country, we wouldn't be able to equip them. We wouldn't have the technology. We wouldn't have the ability. And even the amount of nukes that Alan talks about us having, the last 3 or 4 tests of Trident test fires have been like 25% successful. So we don't even know what condition most that's in.
The Britain has to develop its own delivery system for its nuclear warheads. That's an absolute must. We need to bin Trident and make our own.
I mean, we should be doing 10% of GDP as an emergency measure.
Definitely.
Just seriously.
Yeah.
It's under-equipped, and I don't want my friends who are still in being sent anywhere half-equipped.
No, exactly.
There we go. The Chinese were colonized by Japan, don't forget. Yes, there's an age-old grudge there that they still want to settle at some point. People forget often. I will mention, Ben, while we're on, I like the Enforcer. I've seen him. He's all right.
Yeah,
his news is very pro-Ukraine oriented. I mean, if you just listen to him and nobody else, Ukraine's been winning that war for the last 2 years, hands down. So pinch of salt, everybody.
Yes, that's what I mean as well when I say use it for sources. I only go mainly there for what's going on elsewhere, but what you're saying is right.
Someone's in love with China. Keep an eye on that one. If he changes his name on the stream to Awan, we know.
But
I'm sorry.
Who's Awan?
Right, I think we'll call that for the evening. It's been 2 hours. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We've talked through a lot of stuff. I don't think we've solved all the world's problems, but we've definitely talked through a lot of them. So it's been a pleasure to have you all on. Paul, do you want to quickly tell people about Norfolk Prepper? Have you got some videos going on, or?
Well, I'm still having problems with my little water side project. I did actually do a motorbike bug out to a campsite, but when I got there, the campsite was how do I put it, like a lake, so that was pretty darn pointless, that was. So that got scrapped. I've got items to test, items to vacuum pack and store and whatnot. So
cool. So lots of content coming on Paul's channel, so go and check out Norfolk Prepper. Miss Worm has just posted the link.
Thank you, Miss Worm.
Ben, what's going on with Renegade Preppers UK?
At the minute, me and Alan are still talking about doing little chill and chat streams where we cover a couple of things. We did one, what was it?
At stupid o'clock on a school night.
I know.
Honestly. I'm sat there on the couch going, should I join them? And I'm looking, I'm like, yeah, you've no chance, boys. I'm done.
To be fair, it's because it was a bit impromptu. I said, Alan, was he busy after work? Sort of around, what was it, 10, weren't it?
Yeah, because I work strange shift patterns, so sometimes I'm asleep, sometimes I'm awake, so it's one of those things. I'm off a few days just now, so I don't need to go back to work for a few days, so now I can do things like that, and then other times you won't see me at all for about a week.
There you go. So we just expect more of that then, Ben? Is that the agenda at the moment? Yeah. Cool. And Alan, tell us about the World Survivalist. What have you got going on?
Yeah, so
Now
World
the, now the
Survival-
weather's turning.
yeah, you'll probably see a lot more camping related videos on World Survivals because this is my most active time of year for like camping trips like that. I've got some kit reviews already lined up. I think the next one's about the Grail water filter, which comes out next week on the 7th or something. So a few kit reviews, things like that, outdoorsy stuff. I'm working on prepper videos just now. I keep saying that I'm going to introduce them eventually, and I've not got round to it yet because, funnily enough, most people, and Apola did what you see, survival techniques above all else. So I'm trying to do some of those as well. But
It's all prepping. It's all prepping related.
it's all related. It's all there. So if you're interested in what you do when you actually bug out, then yeah, check my channel out for that.
Yeah, skills are free, guys. Skills are free. So go and check out World Survivalists and check out some of the videos. Thank you to Miss Worm, Evil Girl. I assume Hawkins has already disappeared off to bed somewhere, but all my moderators, thank you for being here and helping out with that. And Miss Worm, Chief Moderator, as always, putting all the links in. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you in another video really soon.
Cheers, Mike.
Goodbye.
Bye all.
Bye bye.